So the problem we've got is Mia here, she's the middle child and she's in the third bedroom, which isn't the biggest. So when she used to have a bed here, she didn't have a lot of space to do anything else. So we asked Mia what she'd like.
I want a bunk bed with a desk and somewhere to put my stuff.
So with the power of the internet, we found a company called Stompa that have come up with the perfect solution.
So for us, this is the ideal bed and Mia absolutely loves it. It's got the high sleeper bed, it's got a desk area where she can do her homework, it's got shelves for storage, and it also comes with a seat. It's also got the added bonus of the seat being able to pull out into a bed for when a friends stay over.
Stompa have kindly given us a discount code which should be on screen now, and it will entitle you to 15% off the products on their website, including this lovely bed, which was fairly easy to put together, which I'll show you now in this video.
This is what Stompa have sent me. Now the delivery company do offer an assembly service, but if you're like me and you like DIY, then you do it yourself. And if you follow this video, you shouldn't go far wrong. First thing to do is to open the boxes. Now that I've unwrapped all the boxes, I've laid all the panels out. I found the instructions in the big long box. Read the manual, make yourself familiar with all the different components and how they assemble. The tools that are needed are a Phillips screwdriver and a flathead screwdriver. So I've got one with interchangeable heads, an Allen key which is supplied in the pack, a hammer and a rubber mallet. Step one, I've found all the panels that I need. I've laid them all out in front of me on the floor, and it's quite a simple step. Dowels, holes, dowels and holes. In the bag of fixings comes a little tube of glue. I've cut the end off with a utility knife, and before you put the dowel in the hole, put a little bit of glue in. Now you don't have to put much in, a little dab will do. That should be plenty. The dowel in, and gently tap it in with a hammer. If any excess glue comes out, then wipe it with a damp cloth. Some of the pieces have different sized holes in. The other size holes are smaller than the size for the dowels, so obviously don't put them in the smaller holes and try and force them in. Just put them into the larger holes. Now that we've come to put the metal fixings in, I've made life a little bit simpler for myself. I've laid them out in the specific sizes, so when you look at the instructions and you need a certain size, you can just go to them, grab the lot of them, and away you go. Step number 2 is the legs. So I've laid them out on the floor, and we need G 4 of them and H 4 of them, and I'll show you what they look like. G are the metal dowels. Now in the instructions it refers to them as being 34mm. If you see there, the thread changes, so the 34mm is the bigger thread, not the smaller thread. And H are the screws, which are 60mm long. Screws, letter H, go into these holes here, set of 3 and set of 3. So these go into these holes. And you tighten them down with the Allen key. But you've got to leave them protruding 35mm. So that's sticking out now 35mm. Now down the other end of the legs, and put the metal dowels into the smaller holes. So I'll get them started by hand, and then use a Phillips 2 screwdriver to tighten them down. But if you look where the thread changes, there's a stop, so just tighten down to that stop and don't over tighten them. Step 3 is to assemble the end leg frame assembly, but if you look at the legs, they are slightly different. You've got 2 and 2, so you need to do them as a pair. The difference is these 3 holes here, because there's a back rail at the bottom but no front rail at the bottom, whereas at the top there's a back rail and a front rail, so you need to pair them up. So put them two together out the way for now, and these two together, so I'll assemble these and then assemble them too. For this step we need letter F, which is these locker nuts, 4 of them. We need J, which are labelled up as sectors, and there's 4 of them, and Z, which is these 4 cover caps. Now is the time in that flat pack assembly when you think, oh no, it's all gone wrong, and this is the point where it could happen. So you need to decide if you want the desk on the left or the right hand side. Now I want it to be on the right hand side. If you look at the assembly that I've got here, this is the front leg because it has no holes. That is the back leg because it's got 3 holes for the rail that's going to come out of there. So this is the left hand side, and if you look at the pieces, these 2 bottom rails, they look almost identical, except one has 2 holes there and a hole there. So that is for the side that you want your desk on. So because this is the left hand side and I want the desk on the right, I'm going to leave that to one side for when I do the other assembly. And then you can put the rails into the legs. Then take J, the sector, and place that into the hole over the screw head. And then with the Allen key, you can tighten the screw down. And then a cover cap just gets placed over that. So then locking nut F, if you look at it, this piece is where the screw goes. So you need to place it over the screw head, push it down, and then with the flathead screwdriver, turn it in the direction of the arrow, which is on the locker nut. And that's locked into place now. So just repeat the process on the other side. If you are having trouble assembling the joints, then a white rubber mallet may help you out a bit. The other side of the bed goes together in exactly the same way, with the exception of this rail here, which accepts the desk. The 2 holes go towards the top of the bed. Step number 4, I have laid out all the components in the configuration they need to be. For this step we need B, C, D and E, 2 of each. So B is 2 70mm wood screws, C is 2 80mm wood screws, now be careful because they are similar to each other. D is 2 75mm bolts, and E is 2 cross dowels. The cross dowel needs to be inserted into the hole in the bed rail with the slot at the top and the slot running with the grain of the wood, so that the hole will line up with the hole in the end. Now to put the rail into the leg assembly, no glue this time in case you ever need to take it apart. And then bolt D goes through the hole on the outside and should screw into the cross dowel, and tighten it down with the Allen key. So to help, I've just lifted it up slightly. Now the safety rail, again, fit the dowel into the hole, and with screw B, which is the 70mm one, put that into the hole, and it should locate into the corresponding hole in the rail. Lift it up slightly and tighten it down with the Allen key. The bed rail goes on next, and if you look closely there's more of them small holes, so they go towards the top of the bed. Again, it's for the desk assembly. Put the dowels into the holes, and this time it's screws C, which are the 80mm ones, and again they go through the hole, and tighten them down with the Allen key. Now I just need to repeat what I've done over there on this side. Step number 5 is to put the front rail on, and the fittings we need are D 275mm bolts, E 2 cross dowels, and Y is 8 cover caps. So this bit can be a little bit tricky. You've got to put the cross dowel into the hole under there and get the bolt into the hole in the cross dowel. So I'm just going to hold that with my thumb and put the screw into it, and then tighten it down with the Allen key. And the same on the other side. The cover caps just simply push onto the screw heads. I've had to stand the bed up temporarily just to give myself a little bit of space. So step 6 is inserting more dowels. So they are known as A1 on the instructions, and they go into these 4 pieces. There's no glue required on these ones. So again, just simply put the dowels in and little tap home. Step 7 requires 7 metal dowels numbered up as G or lettered up as G, and they go into them 3 holes in pieces 14. Getting tightened down with the Phillips screwdriver. Again, remember not to over tighten them, just go down until there's a stop. In piece 18, it's a metal dowel there and there. And then piece 16, they go into these 2 holes here. Step 8, all the fittings that are required are 2 locking nuts, which are labelled up as F. In this step, it's a left or right hand side step. So if you look at the diagram, if you want the desk on the left, follow diagram A, the desk on the right, diagram B. So I want the desk on the right, so I'm going to follow diagram B. These 2 pieces slide together. Then the locking nuts go over the screws. And lock them down. For step number 9, we need 2 angle brackets with 2 15mm screws and 6 cover caps. G1s, H1s and J1s. Brackets and them 2 holes there. They get screwed into place with the 15mm screws. And the 6 cover caps, they go into the holes along here. Step 10 is the assembly of the ladder, and for this you use 20 of these screws, which are lettered up as K. The sides of the ladder, the top bit has that curve, so to assemble it, put that down towards the floor with both of them. There's 5 treads or steps of the ladder. 3 of them have the metal dowels, so they are the 3 top steps. So they go closest to the curved end. With these screws, you use the Allen key. Step 11. Now we need 2 D1s, 3 E1s, 1 H1 and 4 J1s. The angle bracket gets attached to the bed rail there with a 15mm screw. Then the desk assembly, the notch fits around the leg, and then just screw in the brackets to the pre-drilled holes. Screw E1 attaches the desktop to the rail of the bed. Piece 18 has two E1 screws that go through the shelf into this back support. The two D1 screws, they go through them two holes into the bed support. Now the two D1 screws, they go through them two holes and screw into the mattress support. Step number 12, need two pieces which are 19, and we need two of these locking nuts which are lettered up as F. They simply go in the hole. The dowels locate into the holes and the metal dowel fits into the locking nut. So when you're putting them on, make sure the holes are to the bottom of the bed. Step 13, we need to put the ladder assembly onto the bed. So we need 3 labelled up as letter F, which are locking nuts, and 4 cover caps, which are labelled up as F1. The locking nuts just go into the holes, but making sure that goes towards the hole for the metal dowel to go into. If you actually look, there is an arrow. Then the ladder assembly simply slots into there, so the metal dowels fit into the holes. Then we can lock down the locking nuts. Step 14, we use 2 of these screws which are labelled up as L, and they attach the ladder to the side of the bed through these 2 holes here. And we screw them in with the Allen key. Now's the time to lift the bed up. I've asked my lovely assistant to give me a hand. Step 15 is attaching the front safety rails. So we need 2 screws which are lettered up as B, 4 L's and 2 cover caps which are Y's. Dowel to the top, into the leg of the bed, and screw B and tighten it down with the Allen key. And the 2 screws labelled up as L go through the safety rail into the leg of the ladder. And the cover cap just fits over the screw head there. And repeat the process for the other side. Step 16 is to put the bed slats in. Conveniently, the slats come all banded together, so you've just got to plonk them on and unroll it out, which I've already done. You need to get them as close to the legs as possible. And with the screws labelled up as M, just put 1 in each end of the slat through the pre-drilled holes at the top. The next step are to put the cover caps in. They just fit into them screws like that. There is one which is different to all the others, and that fits into the desktop there. And then the remainder of them into the rails of the bed. Now it's time to put the chair bed together. I've laid out all the pieces, I've opened the bag of fittings and I've laid them all out to make it nice and easy for myself. Step 1 is inserting dowels. Now I've got pieces 3, 4 and 5, and the legs which are number 10, and then the slightly longer dowels, the 40mm ones, they're what we'll be using, not the smaller ones. In the legs they need a little dab of glue. But in the other pieces, no glue. Step 2, you'll need 2 of these 50mm screws and the Allen key to tighten them down. So rail labelled up as number 3, that goes in this position. dowels get inserted into the holes and simply screw it in. So now rail number 4, that goes in that position, and if you notice the grooves, the groove on piece number 3 is close to the top, on piece number 4 it's closer to the bottom, and again just screw it home. Step 3, the 2 pieces of thin plywood, which are the base, they slide into the grooves. Once the base panels are in the grooves, then support piece number 5, that simply slots into the dowel holes. Step 4 is to place on the other side panel using the 2 screws labelled up as E. Step number 5, get the 4 smaller dowels, which are B's, and piece number 8, again a little bit of glue in each hole, and then insert the dowels. Step 6, you want piece 7 and 8. So piece 8 with the 4 dowels has pre-drilled holes in the top of it. So that one's to go like that. Push into piece 7 so the holes are close to the edge. And then there's 2 bolts which are lettered up as C, and 2 decorative nuts which are lettered up as D. And you'll need the 2 Allen keys. So the 2 decorative nuts going from that side, and then the bolts will screw into them from that side using the 2 Allen keys. Just tighten them down. Step 7, locate piece number 9 and the 2 number 10s, and it's just a case of gluing them and putting them on each end. So again, little dab of glue. Step 8 is to attach the wheels, which are labelled up as F, and 4 screws which are labelled up as G. In each leg there's 2 pre-drilled holes. Simply put the wheel on and drive the screws home. Step 9, you'll need the rear support, 2 pieces or 2 slats which are number 12s, and 4 slats which are number 11s. Now 12s are slightly wider than 11s, and if you'll notice in all of them, the hole there is 27.5 millimeters in from the end. That one is not. So the one that's further in, that goes onto the rear support. The fittings you will need are 6 screws which are labelled up as J, and 2 plastic washers which are labelled up as L. So the slats simply get screwed in place through the pre-drilled hole into the pre-drilled hole. So the 2 washers go on them 2. Step 10, you'll need piece 13, which simply goes in there. There's pre-drilled holes to accept the screws labelled up as H. So it's just a simple matter of putting the screw through the pre-drilled hole into the pre-drilled hole and screwing it home. Step 11, you will need the front panel that we prepared earlier, and 5 of the slats which are number 14s. Now beware, there's 2 holes that end and 1 hole that end. The side with 1 hole goes on the front panel. There is 5 screws which are labelled up as letter K's, and they just get tightened in with the Allen key. Step 12, you want piece number 15, and the pre-drilled holes will correspond with the pre-drilled holes in the slats. We use the screws labelled up as G to screw through piece 15 into the slats. Step 13 is to simply insert the cover caps labelled up as M into the bolt heads. I've pushed the chair bed assembly back into position now, flush to that leg, and it's just a case of putting 3 screws in, which are labelled up as H, one there, one that side, and one into the back leg. I've just put the covers on the cushions for the chair bed, and I've put that in place. So the final job to do is to open the award-winning Airflow Stompa mattress. So here it is. Believe it or not, there's a mattress inside this box. It's all rolled up tight. It's an Airflow mattress, so when you unpack it, because it's rolled flat, it takes anywhere between 3 to 4 hours to expand to 90% of its maximum size, and a further 24 to 48 hours to reach its full height. So if you open it and it's a bit flat, don't worry, it will rise within 2 days. So let's see how we get on with this. So believe it or not, that is a mattress. So I can actually hear the air being sucked into that, and it's expanding. So I hope you liked this video and found it useful, and if you buy one of these beds, I hope you like it as much as we do.